He is metaphorically as much a part of the Jacksonville landscape as are the area's 7 bridges, a part of the very fabric of this area's politics. And he has been for as long as I've known him, even longer, since the mid-70s. Now, Jacksonville City Councilman Tommy Hazouri is in home hospice care. And Tommy, our thoughts and prayers are with you. Joining me on the morning show is Rick Mullaney, News4Jax Political analyst and head of the Jacksonville University Public Policy Institute. Good morning, Rick.
Morning.
So Tommy was in the Florida House from 74 to 86, but I'd like to start with his accomplishments as mayor. He was in that office from 1987 to 1991, and in that one term, he brought about some significant change.
Bruce, he did, and probably the things he's remembered for most are 2 things in particular. One was the elimination of tolls, and you may recall that we had toll bridges on all of Jacksonville's bridges, and he went to a referendum of the people in which he basically eliminated those tolls and replaced them with the half-cent sales tax for the JTA for infrastructure investment, a defining moment in his administration. The second was air pollution and odors. I was a prosecutor back in those days, and the state attorney's office partnered with the mayor's office and Mayor Hazouri in helping to eliminate air pollution and odor. Very significant for the future of Jacksonville. It was a consequential term as mayor.
You should talk about odors. I remember I was living in Central Florida, and people talked about Jacksonville. You talked about the paper plants. I said, oh man, Jacksonville smells. And Tommy wanted to get rid of that perception, and he did. To say that Tommy was passionate about Jacksonville, that'd be an understatement, huh?
Bruce, it would be an understatement. Tommy's roots run deep. He was born and raised here in Jacksonville. Here at Jacksonville University, he graduated in 1966. He was student body president here. And as you mentioned, in 1974, he began a career of nearly 50 years of public service, from 1974 in the Florida legislature, spanning 3 legislative bodies, of course, the Florida legislature, school board, city council, and mayor of Jacksonville, right up to today. That's 47 years. 33 of those years he held elective office. A remarkable career, and with Tommy, his passion for Jacksonville has deep, deep roots in Jacksonville, and a remarkable career of public service.
Yeah, school board for 8 years, first elected to city council in 2015, re-elected in 2019, council president last year. That tenure marked some different challenges than when he was mayor. Had to deal with the pandemic and trying to grow downtown. I guess I'm thinking specifically the Lot J tussle.
Lot J was significant, but Bruce, let me say this. I believe Tommy Hazouri's term as president is one of the most significant and consequential terms of any city council president Jacksonville's ever had. In particular, 3 big issues: JEA, Lot J, as you've mentioned, and the gas tax. On JEA, Tommy Hazouri was very supportive of the city council's special investigative committee. And in the fall, they delivered their full report on their investigation into the JEA. Soon after that, you began the vetting of Lot J. And I thought Tommy Hazouri demonstrated remarkable patience, courage, and I think a very level playing field in providing a full vetting by city council on something that was very significant and very contentious, eventually bringing that to a vote of the full city council. And then this past spring, you saw him working with the mayor's office, the JTA, Nat Ford, in the passage of a gas tax that was revised over time, and I actually think made better the adoption of the Emerald Trail and significant pieces of that legislation that's going to result in $1 billion investment in Jacksonville's future. Not to mention that a year ago in the fall in November, he was supportive, as you would expect, of a half-cent sales tax for education. It was one of the most significant years of any council president, I believe, in Jacksonville history.
Tommy mentored a lot of politicians who serve today, like Sam Newby. What do you think his message to them is?
I think his main message is the importance of public service. And I think he not only walks the walk, he's talked the talk. From 1974, when he was elected to the Florida legislature, to the time he served as mayor of Jacksonville, to his service on the school board, to his time now on city council, Tommy loves Jacksonville, deep roots here. And I think his message, quite frankly, would be one of public service and the importance of public service to the people of Jacksonville.
And what do you think Tommy would most like to be remembered for, his legacy, if you will?
You know, Bruce, Tommy's very proud of his Lebanese heritage. He's the first Arab American to be elected mayor of Jacksonville. I think, of course, his loving wife, Carol, and that beautiful marriage. But I think in the end, many people are going to look back and view it as one of the most remarkable careers of service to the people of Jacksonville, of any public servant. And as you said at the beginning of this telecast, I hope that Tommy knows and his family knows. I want them to know that here at Jacksonville University and Channel 4, our thoughts and prayers are with him, and we're very grateful for his service to the people of Jacksonville.
Rick Mullaney, thank you. And Tommy, again, we can't say it enough. The city's thoughts and prayers, our thoughts and prayers are with you.